I have never gone anywhere alone until recently, only when someone comes along. It's the result of me going solo and getting caught by a blood-drinking vampire with friends to spend the holidays with. This experience is in the town where we went on an adventure travel together. 2 days' journey through the dreaded forest. In that terrible forest, there were many tall trees with no sunlight coming in. It had interwoven its roots in that untrodden place of men and penetrated outwardly. Green leaves and dry goods were piled up. Single horn. The sounds of some animals that we heard from time to time scared us, but it was the sound of running water in the distance. The chirping of the birds made everything in the forest enjoyable. After seeing everything that day, a very big elephant with a single horn came upon us. It came towards the sky, and everyone ran screaming and beating. Those who were together scattered in all directions. The elephant started chasing me. I entered a building. As we went inside, it turned out to be a large bungalow. Are any of my friends coming? I was sitting at the door of that big bungalow, wondering what happened to them. Inside the house. Who takes care of such a big house and who lives inside it in the middle of such a forest? I slowly turned towards the house suspiciously and looked at its door, and the door itself was very scary. Go to the door and put your hand and knock on it. There was also some bleeding. It's like a place no one has been before. Confused as to what this gut-wrenching noise was, he pushed the door open slightly. I entered inside, and inside it was like a big palace. It was gathering dust without use. Something about the big rooms and the skylights above scared me. For a moment, the thought that it was a mistake to enter as a curiosity disappeared. When I went in, there was a long chair wrapped in a blanket. At a time when everything was dusty and old, only the blanket was new. As there was no dust, he was doubtful whether to go nearer or not, when he suddenly heard the sound of a clock ticking. Lamb. Who wouldn't be afraid of a sudden noise in that quiet place? I'm that chair again. I went near it, and it seemed to me that someone was lying there. I beat my heart. Slowly I took each step, and there was blood all over the wall. There was a basket in which was a lamb's head and its body which had been bitten off. I screamed loudly. Throw the basket to one side, and the goat's head went to a corner, and the blood spilled from the basket. I had been brave until I fell, and now I was panicking and trying to save my life from the place of the elephant. For a second I scolded myself for entering a haunted house. There was a man standing there with a big, stern face. A ghost looks like this. His eyes were bulging out, and his teeth were all long, and his cheeks were bleeding from scratches. There was a huge burn wound on my forehead, and I was speechless just seeing that figure, and I was sweating in fear that my life was caught by him. Both his legs were shaking, and he didn't make any noise. He passed me and went near that chair. He didn't see the basket on that chair. Sky trembled and screamed with eyes on all sides, and screamed so much that the house collapsed again. I sat down in fear and turned towards the wall without looking at him. I closed my eyes tightly as my lips trembled. The million-dollar question at that time was whether this monster would eat me. Ghost. Near. He screamed and searched, and I slowly opened my eyes and saw the basket lying in front of me. Before I could close my eyes and guess what was happening, the demon pulled me towards him. Its hand gripped my arms tightly, and I couldn't pull it away. He bit the lamb and started eating it. I heard the sound of eating slowly, and a slight grunt. The ghost's breathing was like breathing with terrible anger. He finished eating everything. By that time, my friends who had scattered and started looking for me together, all of them were thinking of coming back to the forest. Only a few of them took torches in their hands and left. I was told the lost information home. She scolded her friends. That night, too, she lit a lamp and started chanting some mantras. Out of the jungle. They fully believed that I would have come out of the forest after running away from the elephant. Those who came in search of me did not enter the forest and stopped near the trees on the border of the forest. They searched around with torches. Calling my name twice, I heard a creaky, creaky sound in the distance like someone pushing a bicycle. Suddenly, the four of them flashed torches at the bikes, but the rider of the bike was not caught in anyone's eyes. I was inside, and slowly opened my eyes and saw that the ghost was not me. I was alone. I was afraid to leave the room when I heard someone laughing. I held onto the wall to catch my breath and moved to find myself. Those who went were suffering in the dark, not knowing where to go and searching. Even the tiniest sounds in the forest must have given them an idea that it was me. Friends' ending begins. They had no hope that I would reach them, and they stood there not knowing how to tell this to my mother. Then he tried to lift the leg of someone who was standing there to do something. I slowly walked inside and reached the middle room. That one room was very spacious, and the lamp that had been burning for so long had gone out. I was at the peak of fear, as the entire bungalow was now engulfed in smoke. I could well sense that my death was near. I slowly stretched my hands forward. Then I heard something rolling from the stairs there. Something must be a character. As soon as I heard that, I stopped there. The dish rolled down the stairs and landed at my feet, and I screamed and heard something shatter inside my leg. I moved forward with the intention of leaving this place without taking it. It was as if someone was following me, and looking back was of no use. I heard the sound of the lock to take each step slowly, and the sound stopped when I quickly tapped my leg, and it also tapped. Do I have fat on my leg? I didn't lock it. Then I wondered what the noise was. If it does the same as my leg movements, it must be watching me from the side. It knows nothing in this darkness. Only it knows how I know. My friends were so shocked that they couldn't even make a sound. A clump of hair wrapped around his leg, and he raised his leg slightly to warn her that it had been taken. Standing on one leg, he was unable to stand and swayed. Then within seconds he lost his balance and fell to the ground. The other three said that they were saving him. They were hit and bowed down, and they all fell down. They didn't know where the hole was for so long. 2 feet away from where they were standing, a big hole fell. It must have been a pool. It was full of mud. All 4 fell into it. Inhaling ghost. They tried to get up slowly, but they couldn't, and when they came up with difficulty, something pulled them back into it. After several hours of trying, they couldn't, and finally their bodies slowly started to bury themselves in the hole. I didn't know what I was doing, but something was guiding me. I've been hanging around indoors in the dark since I wanted to go out. I kept on walking, holding my life in my hand for fear of where the ghost was, rubbing my hands. Finally, a door stopped me, and I slowly pushed it open, and it was the terrace door. If you open it, the terrace is as big as the house. I looked around with fear. The place was a bit mesmerizing in the moonlight. Suddenly, I heard a scream from the side of the terrace. I ran away. My friends who came to see me were trapped in the pit and were screaming and came to save me. It was understood that they were stuck like this where they came. Before they could understand what was happening, the screams of their friends stopped. Following shade. At that time, I suddenly heard the sound of footsteps in the distance and turned around with fear. It was moving like a shadow. I slowly moved back as it came. When I went back, it was coming towards me. At last, I came near the round wall of the terrace. I saw that figure. It was a black figure. I could not see its exact shape. It was coming closer to me, and the slowly moving figure came very close to me. Now it entered me, and as soon as it entered, I felt a vibration that came and went. The feeling of being struck by lightning. I laughed so hard now, without any connection. I hit the wall hard 2 or 3 times and caught the blood that was bleeding and drank it. I had never tasted anything like this before, and I drank my own blood, wondering if I had left it for so long, and it gave me a kind of stupor. Bloodthirst. Little by little I drank my blood, and still my thirst for blood was not contained. I wanted more and wanted more, and I looked around and saw the place where my friends were buried. I jumped down from the top, laughing that I was going to drink a lot of blood today. I ran towards the burial pit to get rid of the dusty sand, dug them up and started eating them, and slowly started tasting their blood. As I walked down the road, there was no one in the middle of the night. Everyone had locked the house and was sleeping inside. Only in one house the lamp was burning like bleach. A woman was crying at the door. Yes, she is my mother for me. She understood that she was waiting and came smiling happily when she saw me. As she came towards me, I grabbed her hand and pulled her neck bitten. She came to embrace me without knowing that I would bite her, and she screamed when I bit her. I kept on biting her and drinking her blood without letting go. Many people left the town out of fear of me. Blood is not available nowadays as it was in the beginning. I found a trick for that. The blood of whoever reads my story belongs to me. Trapped researcher. A researcher who was reading this looked around with a bit of fear and confused the glasses he was wearing. I was inside his room, but I was not visible to his eyes. I went near him and started drinking his blood. He screamed. I was careful in my work. There is not even a drop of blood in his dead body now. I am waiting to see who will read this story next and ask him to leave him alone.